20. It is from Egypt. It's our fourth Egypt piece, and it is titled The Temple of Amun-Re and Hypostyle Hall. The title Amun, or the name Amun of God, can be spelled like three different ways, like A-M-E-N, like Amen, and Re can be also spelled R-A, as in Ra. It has three images associated with it, and let's dive in. Just in terms of form, this is a complex. It's not just one building. It is a complex that has multiple temples, and it is a place where priests live who tend to the temple. Also, in terms of form, it is placed on an axial plan, meaning that it is placed, there's a line going north and south. I know this looks east and west, but it's actually the kind of the north and south lay of the land. And then there also is an east and west design or line. It is as you enter, and not everybody gets to enter, only really the pharaoh and his attendants and the priests. But as they enter in, they reach the more sacred part of the temple, and it's here in the inner sanctum where the statue of Amun-Re is placed. Also, in terms of form, there are what are called pylons. So this yellow line I've got outlining a pylon. They are massive walls, but wider at the bottom, narrower at the top. And if you look at this is not one of our pieces, but it has a great pylon as an example. If you can see, there's two pylons side by side in the middle. This opening is like, the division between two hills, and where you can see the sunrise and the sunset. So it captures that birth and rebirth of the sun on a daily basis. And this form of pylon can be seen on bridges. This is a beautiful picture of a bridge in Australia, and these are pylons. A lot of form, so here's more. There are columns that are used in the Temple of Amun-Re, lots of them. And these 134 columns are used to hold up the roof. And that's where we get the term hypostyle hall. It's literally columns holding up a roof. And this is the remnants of the roof that you see here. In the day when it was built, the whole roof would be covered, or top of these columns would be covered, and be super dark in there. And these columns, look, they're 33 feet around, huge, 79 feet tall. The other idea to note about the columns is that they look like papyrus. This is a papyrus plant that grows along the Nile River. And the whole idea of this temple is birth and rebirth is the topic. And so we saw that with the pylons, the sun being birthed and rebirthed every day, and then this swamp that papyrus comes from. Okay, also in terms of form, we have another vocabulary word, and it's called a clerestory. A clerestory is it's like a second floor in this building. So, but then it has openings or windows to the outside that end up letting in light. So over here, I like this line drawing to explain it. So here's our 134 columns, and these columns are even bigger than some of these others, than most of them, I should say. And these really tall columns, they hold up an even higher roof, a kind of a second floor roof, if you want to think of it that way. And then the clerestory lives right here in between the second floor and the first floor roof. So it lets in light inside. In terms of function for the clerestory, but not function for the whole temple of Amun-Re, the clerestory function is that not only does it let in light, but it allows messages to be sent up to the gods, and then hopefully the gods will respond with an answer to the priests. Here would be right here that clerestory. I'm disappointed on this drawing that they don't really have it open. It kind of makes it look like it's a wall. But imagine this really being actually windows. That's the clerestory. Okay, in content, every available wall and column was covered with hieroglyphics, and they're pretty much repetitive. Bombastic is a great word that I heard describing them. Explaining the role of the pharaohs. And we start here with Ramses II. There are multiple pharaohs involved in adding on to this temple. And the content of these hieroglyphics is they really show that the pharaoh had tons of power, and the power came from God, from Amun. So, for example, here is Ramses II, and he is presenting the temple. Do you see the pylon kind of here? He's presenting it to Amun-Re, the god. And here, Ramses II is making the clay bricks. This is made out of mud brick. So he's making those bricks, showing Amun-Re, hey, I'm making this for you. Okay, so in terms of context, who is Amun-Re? He was a god. He was located at the city of Thebes, and Thebes was the town where the leader of the 18th dynasty from Egypt was from. And so it just happened that Amun-Re, or Amun, became a very famous god. He got combined with Re, or Ra, the sun god, and so we have this combo god, Amun-Re. And he's just super popular all over Egypt. He's actually going to become Zeus for the Egyptian or Greeks. So more context, just the location itself. The Temple of Amun-Re in Hypostyle Hall is located here along the Nile River. And it is at this location that they had what's called the Opit Festival. And this is where the pharaoh would, at this festival, he would go into this birth room and he would be reborn. And it's a rebirth that links him to the god Amun-Re. And so it just is a yearly reestablishment of the pharaoh's power as a god, because he's kind of like one of them. He's got their blessing at this rebirth. So this is an image of right here. Do you see this gold? I don't know what you call it. Gold container. It's got the statue of Amun-Re in it that's being carried. Here is our temple of Amun-Re, and it's going to be carried down this avenue of sphinxes to another town of Luxor, where there's another temple, and it's in that temple that the rebirth ceremony takes place. Over here, on this side of the Nile, is where our pyramids are located. So here is more context telling us about that Opet festival. This is where the procession would take place down the what did I call it? The Avenue of Sphinxes. So look at all these sphinxes. Oh my God! And here's one close up for you. And here's what they would have looked like painted up back in the day. And so processional down this Avenue of Sphinxes. It's 2 kilometers from the Temple of Amun-Re to where they're headed in Luxor. And so finally, function is that this whole shebang, the Temple of Amun-Re, Hypostyle Hall, and the Opset um, festival, is that it establishes the legitimacy of the pharaoh. And the whole purpose is to make the pharaoh seem like he is fertile and that he can influence the flow of the Nile and he can influence the productivity of crops that year. So legitimacy of the pharaoh is the function.